Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 233 of the Maritime Paintball Podcast. What's happening, folks? So, episode 233, it's the dead of winter. So we're going to talk about some winter stuff. Hold on a second. I sound funny. Anyway, I think we got it fixed. I think I'm good. I think it's all in my head. Moving on. Christopher Struck, Jason, Tim Banks, Daryl, John Adams. What is happening? It's good to have you here. It's good that you guys are here hanging out. We're going to talk about, winter paintball. I am in the middle of East Coast Canada, which is not the coldest part of Canada, luckily. Alberta and the Northwest Territories have that one. It's cold, but it could be much colder. My brother currently lives in a place where it's like minus 40. I'm okay with minus 25. Guillermo, Michael Park, what's happening? Glad to have you here. Jason, it's freaking freezing out. It is freezing out, but it could be colder. It really could. But let's talk winter paintball. Let's talk about the do's and don'ts. So the reason for this whole episode is basically hopefully I'm going to a winter game. Marianne Womble, what's happening? Ma Photography. Folks, go check out Ma Photography if you get a chance. Go over on Facebook. It's really great. She does amazing work. Christopher Struck's telling me it was minus 45 last week. Now it's minus 5. Climate change, ladies and gentlemen. Climate change. It's happening. So this coming weekend, I'm going to a place called the Atlantica Outdoor Recreational Center, or the AORC. It's in Hillsborough, New Brunswick, which is just on the other side of Moncton, New Brunswick, from where I'm at. They host a annual couple. Actually, it's kind of an annual series. There's 3 games. There's one in January, one in February, one in March. Once April rolls around, the season kind of picks back up again. It's warm enough to play. Alexander Cameron, what's happening? Zach Joseph, welcome to the party. And so the winter games. We're talking winter paintball, folks. We're talking winter paintball. So if you want to educate your fellow paintballers, you should share this out. Let's get the conversation going. Let's get people talking about it. Dave Fraser, what's happening, buddy? Coming out your way on the weekend if you're going to be going over to Atlantica, or Hillsborough, as the locals call it. Heading out to the Hillsborough field. So yeah, they hold a winter series. There's a game in January, a game in February, and a game in March. And it is open class, and this field is great. AORC is a really great field in the sense that it used to be a junkyard. So it's got a lot of it's built weird. It's not something that you would ever think to build a field out of. Like if you went and found a place and you're like, I'm going to build a paintball field from scratch. The way this field is built, you would never think to do, because it was a junkyard. And before that, it was like a gypsum factory or something. I can't remember what it was, but it's got like this massive trench through the center of it. You've got like dumpster compactors. They got a couple of buildings built, a few more now. I think they built some over the past few months. And trains. They have trains. They have like 3 or 4 full size passenger like CN rail trains that you can play in, and it's wild. It's a good time. It scares the shit out of me every time I go into those trains, because you are close. You are so close to each other. There's parts of the train where you're going through where it's only wide enough for one person, and you don't know who's hiding in those cars. And it's wild, man. It's nuts. Dave, it's okay if you don't have your camera mounts for this. You should go anyways and play some paintball. It's going to be great. Scotian's telling me it's the best winter paintball, hands down, is Atlantica. I miss that field so much. It's because he's out in Ontario, doing what he's got to get done. And it's great. The winter paintball there, and what makes this field really great for winter paintball, really great for winter paintball, is the fact that they have this massive indoor staging area that is, it's heated. I think it's heated. Yeah, it's heated. At the very least, it's out of the wind. You can leave your stuff, lying around, and it's not sitting in the snow. It's not sitting in the cold. So you can actually keep a lot of your gear out of the cold and out of the wet, which is awesome. Yes, Christopher. The trains are absolutely a place where you should. Sounds like a poop before going in there kind of place. Absolutely. You can get surrounded real quick when you're in those trains too. They'll find out they're in the trains and there's only 2 ways in, and you're just like, shit, I'm stranded, I'm stuck, I'm fighting my way out, or I'm taking them down with me. That's basically it. Derek, what's the fees? That's a good question. I really don't know. Because I wasn't. Let me pull up the what it's going to cost, and we'll go from there. So, really great winter field. There are some precautions you need to take if you're going to play winter paintball, though. You need to learn it, right? There's some stuff that's got to be learnt. $20 entry fee, $25 for a case of paint, $25 for a bag of paint, $85 for a case of paint. Rentals are available. Any level of experience is welcome. That's on their Facebook page. So that's on, and it's called Winter War Series Game 1 Battle of the Bulge. I'm not cracking that joke. That's low-hanging fruit. $25 a bag. What kind of paint is it? I don't think they've announced what type of paint they're using. Last year they used graffiti. Graffiti and Vulcan Field, I think, is the 2 paints they had. Unfortunately, out east now. Let's talk winter paint. Let's talk paint in the winter. Let's talk about paintball in the winter. Traditional paintballs. So let's talk just traditional, what you'd find at a field paintballs are designed to operate at like plus 15 Celsius to like plus 35, plus 40 Celsius or higher. Probably a little bit higher, to be honest. I think they can go higher. As long as they're not sitting in the sun, but they can handle the ambient temperature. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to play paintball in like Texas. They are not designed for minus 20, minus 25. Hell, they're not even made for like minus 15. Once we get below that freezing temperature, paint starts acting real wonky, right? The shells get ultra brittle. So if you've already got a brittle paint, something great for like tournament play, that paint's already brittle. It is now ultra brittle. If you've got a regular paint that's not normally that brittle, so maybe something like Vulcan Graffiti that is used in mag-fed markers, because of it's got a slightly thicker shell, that slightly thicker shell is now even more brittle, right? So it's that you got to be careful with the paint. I would like to see frostbite used. I really would. The stuff is made for the winter, right? Is it the ultra high end, super high quality that you're going to find in like 4-star? No, it's not. But it's made for the winter, right? It's such a niche, but they do it. They do it well. I think it was originally Draxus came up with Frostbite, and GI bought everything. So they ended up with Frostbite, the Frostbite formula. This stuff's designed to handle minus 20 degrees, minus 15, minus 20. Celsius, whatever that equals out to, I don't know, American Eagles, whatever that is. Blaine, welcome to the party, man. We're talking winter paintball. So for those of you that are just tuning in, we're talking winter paintball. We're talking the do's and don'ts, and we're talking about the field, the event that I'm going to be going to this weekend, which I'll be shooting some video and some photos, and I'll have some goodies to show to you guys, I hope. So, I'd love to see Frostbite. Unfortunately, out east here, for some reason, everybody is super hardcore into only using Vulcan paint, and it kind of pisses me off because I like variety. Sorry. Don't get me wrong. Vulcan makes good quality product, but as far as I'm concerned, so does GI. They bought the companies that were making the good stuff. So, yeah. But yeah. If they had, I know it was Vulcan last year. I don't know what they're switching to this year, so I don't know, and I couldn't find anything online about it because I only quickly looked. So I could be completely wrong and talking out of my ass. It would not be the first time. Moving forward, let's talk about. Okay, let's say you're like, hey Brad, I want to go play paintball in the winter, but I have never done it before. Okay, cool. Let's start at the top. Actually, let's start at the bottom. Work our way up, shall we? Let's do that. We're going to talk about that. Jesse Walker, Dave Pitts, welcome to the party. We're talking paintball in the winter. Dave, do you guys play paintball? Does Commando run in the winter? Is that a thing? I don't think I've ever seen photos of you guys playing in the snow. I would really, Commando should, that'd be cool. That'd be really neat if you guys do that. I don't know. I maybe I do know if you do. I don't know. It's all gone. Yeah. Where was I? So you're like, Brad, I want to go play paintball in the winter. What do I do? Well, I have made plenty of mistakes, so let me tell you. First and foremost, if you're going to run any sort of footwear, it needs to be a boot, preferably waterproof, and something that can be laced up around the ankle, and something that can be laced tight. Okay, you're going to need all the ankle support. You're going to be slipping and sliding, and you're going to be like, Brad, I'm not going to step in any ice. You don't know that. You also don't know what is under that snow. You have no idea. Good, tight ankle boot, up over the ankle. I wear 511s, and they were great for me. I used to wear SWAT Originals. The only reason I switched over to 511s is because I won a pair. So then I started wearing 511s, and my SWATs kind of fell apart on me anyways. I needed new boots. But if you got a good, proper winter boot, rock it. It's what you need. You need good footwear to keep you you're standing on snow, you're standing on ice. As soon as your feet get cold, you're cold, man. You're done. You're chilled to the bone as soon as your feet get cold, especially if they get wet. Do not let your feet get wet. Socks. Wear a good sock. Damn it, people. Don't wear thin athletic socks in the winter. Wear a good proper wool sock, because even then, cool thing about wool, if it gets wet, it still keeps you warm. Fun fact of the day. So rock a wool sock. Moving up, pants. Wear something if you got paintball pants, you can wear them, they'll do, but you're going to want layers. You're going to want some long underwear, get some long johns, right? Get some waterproof pants over that, and then throw on your paintball pants or your jeans or whatever you're going to wear. Key thing there's layers, right? So function over fashion. Trust me, most of us look like total morons playing the paintball field in the winter because we are wearing puffy jackets. If you got some guys that don't. I know Tuna and Dapper aren't going to be wearing anything crazy. They're going to be wearing Under Armour and shit like that. But yeah, no. Snow pants. Ma Photography, Marianne. Snow pants. Yes, wear snow pants. That's what they're made for. They're made for being in the snow. So wear snow pants. And if you get the ones with the suspenders, do that. Because the last thing you want is to be running and trying to pull up your pants because your pants are falling down. Don't want to be that guy or girl. Don't do it. Just get a pair of snow pants. Or if you want to rock layers, rock some layers. You should rock layers no matter what. Keep going up. Shirt, jacket. You're going to want a sweater. You're going to want those layers again. You don't want to really break a sweat. Once you break a sweat chills. You get chilled. Boom, you're cold. So layers. So you're going to want a thin sweatshirt, and then a sweatshirt over that, or a hoodie or something, or a good coat, good winter coat. Go to Valley Village and get yourself a $25 coat. Who gives a shit? You're going to be in the cold. You're going to be in the winter in the snow. You're not going to hide anyways. Or go to an Army surplus store and get a white jacket, right? Get a white winter jacket or something. Dave, get a nice white Tyvek disposable suit. There you go. If you don't know what that is, it's what painters wear, when they're the full suit. So go get yourself the hand-me-down 1990s snowboarding outfit with the purple jacket and shit, and then just throw on a white coverall and away you go. Actually, it's not a bad idea. Might do that. Gloves, your hands. So you need good gloves. Not the dollar store things that are see-through, not, the thin leather ones that are just like, these are fashionable. Yeah, they're great. Your hands are going to be frozen. Get a good pair of gloves and put them on, right? While you're playing, and then go out and play. When you come back inside, take them off, let your hands warm up. If you're in the, one thing in gloves is that your fingers are all separated, right? So they're all insulated. So if your hand is cold on the inside of that glove is just going to keep the cold in. But if you wear a mitten, right? If you got like a whole thing, mitten, going over your hand, you've got all the residual heat from your hand warming your hand. Your fingers are kind of warming themselves. That makes sense? Oh, I feel like I'm rambling. Eli, what's happening, bud? Welcome to the party. We're talking winter paintball. If you can find like some shooter's mittens, which are like the whole the pinky, ring finger, middle finger are all stuck together, and then you got like a separate trigger finger and a thumb, rock those if you can get them. If your paintball marker will work with them, it all depends on like what you're using, right? So Christopher, we will get to that in 2 seconds, bud. But you are right. Yes, a freshly teched marker will help. Gloves, mask. It's your paintball mask. Wear a hat. If you want to wear like a shamog or something to cover your mouth, it all depends. I don't like it. I just put on my mask. I also have a big beard that kind of like protects my face in the cold, so I just rock that. But like mask, boom, put the mask on, put on a toque or a beanie, something warm. It doesn't need to be a thick, big, heavy wool hat. If you can get like one of those like super awesome insulated thin beanies, rock that. Rock whatever's comfortable, but rock it, man. So that's your clothes. That's what you're gonna want to wear. That's really what you're gonna want to wear. As for your gear, here's where like a lot of frustration comes in. Okay, so MegFed guys, we're gonna have a heart-to-heart. And I am one of the MegFed guys. I have MegFed gear. I use MegFed gear. MegFed markers are, how do I put this politely? They are built well, but they're not built that well. There is a lot of shit that can go wrong with a MegFed marker. So, if you're going to rock MegFed, keep in mind that your paintballs are exposed while they're in the mags in your vest. So if you dive into a snowbank, snow is now in those mags or around the mags, which means if you get really warm or if you go near a warm spot, that snow starts to melt. Your paintballs are now wet. Wet paintballs swell. Swollen paintballs break in mags. Boom. Shitty time. If it's super cold and the paint you're using is not cooperating with the cold, it's going to break. You got breaks in your mags, you got breaks in your chamber, you got breaks in your barrel. It's going to happen. That's not just MegFed guys with the barrel thing. That's just reality. Some MegFed markers just don't work well in the cold. Okay, they're not tunable. You can turn the FPS, you can tune the pressure, but like you can't tune the marker a whole hell of a lot, depending on what it is. I got maybe there's a couple like this that you can, but reality is that most MegFed markers are built to operate at this particular temperature range, and most of them aren't minus 15, minus 20. Okay? So if you've got an old pump or an old semi, rock it. Mechanical, rock it. Okay? MegFed's fun. Don't get me wrong. I love MegFed paintball. I've got the T15 behind me. I got the TGR2 right over here. I've got the Tipex, I've got the Umarex, I've got the MegFed stuff, and I can tell you from experience that it will shit the bed left, right, and center in the cold. It's just what's going to happen. Okay? So, if you can run hopper, run hopper. Jesus, if you got an old 98 custom, take that. That thing will shoot through anything. Okay? If you've got an electronic marker, let's move to semis. Let's talk semis. If you got let's talk semis. If you've got something that runs on a battery, keep in mind the cold is going to fuck with that battery. So you're going to need lots of batteries. And you're going to want fresh batteries. Okay? None of this like I dug them out of the bottom of my gear bag last minute and away we go. You need good, fresh batteries. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to play. The batteries are going to die. And you're not going to have a good time. Then you're going to be all pissed off. And then you're going to be like, Brad said I could play in the winter. And I'd be like, yeah, I did. And I warned you. Same for your hopper. Check the batteries in your hopper. Fresh batteries. Okay? Keep those batteries out of the cold as much as you can. Keep them in your gear bag inside if there's an inside. If there is no inside, a cooler. Believe it or not, like a thermos. If you can get a thermos warm and then cap it, right? The thermos will keep the cold out. So keep your batteries or something, whatever in the thermos. But ultimately, if you can get a mechanical semi-auto, like a pump or something like an old 98 or an EMEC would work flawlessly in the winter, I'm sure. I'm going to see an EMEC this weekend. The MG100 is probably one of the MagFed markers that will work. We'll see. I'm still thinking that spring pushing up on paintballs, it's not the marker that's going to fail 9 times out of 10. It's the mag that's going to fail. The paint is going to break in the mag, and nobody's going to have a good time when that happens. So that's a big issue, right? So you got to keep that in mind. Masks are going to fog in the cold, okay? You're going from cold, warm air to cold air. And then your face, compared to the minus 25 or the minus 20 or the minus 15 that is out there, your face is warm. It is hot compared to that cold. Your mask probably going to fog. Doesn't matter what you have, okay? I've got an i4, and that thing fogs in the cold, like in the minus 15, minus 20s, because that's just what it is. Paintball is not built to run around those temperatures. It just doesn't work. It does work, but it doesn't work well. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So, aim for a mechanical marker. Keep your mask, free of any moisture or anything like that. It's just going to cause fogging even more. And try to relax and not get too angry when things fail. I've seen a lot of paintball games in the winter where, Elise, what's happening? We're talking winter paintball. I expect to see you at Atlantica this weekend. I really hope you're going to make it. I feel like I'm holding my hands like the ancient alien guys. It's aliens. Ancient aliens. I've seen some fields. I've gone to winter games, and one team is losing because that entire team went mag-fed. I'm not even sugarcoating this story. They went mag-fed. The other team brought mechanical, pump, and semis. And they were just dominating the shit out of the other team because the mag-fed guys, the paint was jamming, the paint was squishing into the mags, the paint wasn't feeding properly, the lock bolt was engaging constantly because the balls weren't getting in where they needed to go. It was bad time, okay? The oil will get really thick in the cold, so if you've got a marker that needs a very particular type of oil or a particular viscosity, that shit's not going to work properly. It's going to get thick. It's going to get sticky. Sorry, I'm reading comments here. So, if you can get a pump, take the pump or the mechanical or the semi. Trust me, MagFed is a ton of fun, but unless you're running first strikes, you're probably going to have a shitty time. And even then with the first strikes, they get super brittle in the cold. They're still going to crack. You're going to get cracked fins. So they're going to flip funny into the chamber. So as much as I love MagFed paintball, it's a real bitch to play in the winter. Now, if you can get into that like -5, -8 temperatures where it's like, yeah, it's technically winter and it's technically below freezing, but really it's not that bad. We're talking like early spring, sort of like, it's like, damn, the time of the year I'm talking about is like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, you got the heater on blast, but by noon, you've got it on like cold air because the sun beaming through the windshield is just warm as hell. So Marianne's got it right. Lux does not do cold. E-Tech is great though. See? So certain markers work great, others don't. I know my TGR2 doesn't mind the cold as long as there's no water in the mags, as long as the paint doesn't get messed up. But the marker itself doesn't mind the cold. I also know that invert mini behind me also doesn't mind the cold, and I can tell you that the KP3 has handled some of the coldest temperatures I've ever seen. I got wrecked by a rabbit who was running a KP3 at minus 29 degrees Celsius, and I'm pretty sure that was without the wind chill. With the wind chill, I think it was closer to like minus 40. Evan Johnston, what's going on, man? We're talking winter paintball. That pump just kept going, that KP3, because there's nothing to it, right? Just pump, and boom. And it was not going to set left, right, and center. It was great to see. Don't wear cleats. That's a big thing. I've seen guys wearing cleats in the winter. Like, don't wear cleats. Cleats are designed for the summer. That shit's cold. Don't let your feet get cold. So, we'll keep going in a second. We're going to stop for 2 seconds, just do a quick sponsor spotlight, and then we'll get right back into the conversation. This episode of the Maritime Paintball Podcast brought to you by Tier 1 Armament, pbswagbag.com, and defconpaintballgear.com. And, of course, with the sponsors, we also have to give a big shout-out to the Patreon supporters, the true MVPs, Mary, Justin, Scotian, Mike, Matt, Tim, Jeffrey, Ryan, Alex, Dr. Rush, Tony, and Sage. All the true MVPs, and if you are in a position to become a Patreon supporter, if you want to help support the show, only if you're in the position to do so, do not break the bank for this, please. Patreon.com/Maritime Paintball Podcast. You can find us, and you can, like, $1 a month kind of thing, and it helps. It really does. Otherwise, if you're not in a position, like, share, talk about the show. That's all you got to do. It's that easy. That's how you can support us. Support me. So where was I? KP3 was kicking ass. The Invert Mini worked really well. The TGR2 didn't mind it too much. But I have seen, like, the 468 got really angry in the cold. And Milsig M17s got really angry in the cold. The M5 did really well, though. I remember the M5 did pretty good as long as the paint was in good shape. M5 did really well, but the M17 kind of does not like the cold. Tip-X's, not too bad. Don't run CO2. That's another thing. Guys, if you're running pistols and you're playing in the cold, do not run CO2. Bad way to do it. So CO2 doesn't expand very well when it's super cold, so you're not going to get that gas into the marker like you need it. So run HPA. That's really what your only option. If you can get nitrogen, if you're one of those rich people who can get nitrogen, do that. I have yet to see it though, but is what it is. So rundown. One more rundown. Boots. Good wool socks. Okay. Snow pants. Splash pants. Long johns. Layers. Keep your legs dry. Keep them warm. Upper body, again, keep it dry, keep it warm. So if that means winter coat and you look like an idiot, winter coat, and then you look like an idiot. Not a problem. You're going to play better, right? You're going to be comfortable. You're not going to be cold. You're not going to be tired. So if that means rocking like that 1990s like waterproof jacket that you got for snowboarding way back in the day, you do that. Brandon Dooley, what's happening? Scarf. Keep the snow from getting into your shirt. Like if you've got a scarf, rock that shit, okay? Or shamrock, whatever you got, whatever you want to do. The mask, use a good paintball mask. It's going to fog no matter what. Okay, it's just going to happen. And hat, wear a decent hat, like a nice thin insulated beanie, a good wool hat, whatever. Just wear something nice, wear something good. Go over to your local army store, like local army surplus, and be like, what do you got for Arctic gear? And then whatever that is, take a step back downwards because you don't need Arctic gear. That shit's like minus 55. You don't need that. You don't need like the Canadian Army 4-sock system to handle winter paintball. You'll be sweating to death. Elise is wondering how the TR50 will run in the cold. Probably not well because it runs on CO2. I'm taking it with me though, and I will try it, and I'll see what happens. And we'll try it, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to be terribly upset because it's not really designed for the cold, especially where the balls are exposed in that marker like that. So we'll see. Keith Barnaby, welcome to the party. Lead Farmers over here. Folks, check out Lead Farmer's podcast. My God, it has slipped my mind. Frontline Paintball, the Frontline podcast. Sorry about that, dude. Just check out Lead Farmer PB on Facebook, and you'll definitely find his podcast. He's got a pretty swell paintball podcast, so it's pretty neat. Can't watch it live, brother. Got to work, but good luck on tonight's show, and see you in June. Absolutely, Eli. Yes, I do know my socks. I'm an army brat, of course. So when I first started paintballing, I basically found my father's old gear and was just like, yeah. He was retired, so it's all fine. And this was old gear. We're talking like old olive drab gear. So good times though. Had a blast. So yeah. So wear good gear. Bring the simple markers. Don't bring the crazy articulated ones that are super hard to deal with. Bring the simpler. The more simple the marker, the better. Otherwise, you're just going to be dealing with problems. And if you are going to run a speedball marker, this is a really good tip from Jeremy Mallet, who had a really great advice. Let go with your dwell. So if you're running a speedball marker, let go with your dwell. Let a little more air through longer. Burns up your air supply, but less bolt stick. So keep in mind that the air is cold, so it's not going to expand. It's not expanding out of that tank, right? Your tank is getting cold, and that air is going to compress a little bit, and you're not going to get the that out pressure like you'd really want. So let the marker suck up a little bit more air. Just give it a little bit longer, and then you'll have less likeliness of your bolt not getting the pressure behind it and sticking. So it's a really great piece of advice. And but yeah, definitely go for warmth. Go for warmth 100%. And if you can, if you look like a moron, don't worry about it. You're playing paintball in the winter. You are a moron. But you're having fun. That's all that matters. Brandon Dooley, Tipman 98, runs better when there's snow jammed in it. It's true. Snow lubes it. Cold snow lubes Tipman 98s. So does gravel, if you didn't know that. Gravel and tar will lube a 98 custom. And Ponish BB's got it rest. The best marker for the cold is the one that shoots. 100%. I don't care how cool your marker is. It's going to shit the bed if it's complicated. That's just how it's going to go. Okay? Tank sock. A tank sock. Yeah. Insulated tank sock will help a little bit. So that's all I got. Folks, we're doing the 30-minute shows in the winter because it's really hard to talk about anything paintball related when the paintball scene in Canada is basically shut down for, 9 months or whatever, how long this winter is. I don't know. I think we're almost to the end of January, so we're getting there. Next week, we're going to have a really cool show. Really, really good show. A really good show. We're going to have DJ Hanu Fox on to talk about the Paintball Hall of Fame, which is something I'm ashamed to say I didn't know was a thing until recently. So, sorry, I keep reading the comments. I gotta stop looking at the comments. So next week, DJ is coming on. We're going to talk about the Paintball Hall of Fame. I don't know anything about it, so we're going to find out exactly what the hell it is, how it works, and how you can nominate somebody, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know. So if you have questions about it, if you want me to ask any particular questions, please post in the comments. Shoot me a message. I don't care how you get hold of me. Send it in the mail, but you got to send it soon because it takes a while to get here in Canada. But yeah, that's it. That's going to be next week's show. And then going forward after that, I have no idea. We'll figure that out in the next coming days. But that's it. That's all I got, folks. So thank you so much to everyone who stuck around, commenting and liking and sharing stuff. I really appreciate it. And, of course, a big shout-out to the sponsors, but an even bigger shout-out to the MVPs over at Patreon. And if you are in a position to become a Patreon supporter, it's just patreon.com/Maritime Paintball Podcast. And, of course, I Excuse me. Truly, truly appreciate it. So big shout out to everybody who's helped out. And of course, that includes you who are liking and commenting. That's it. We're done. Folks, I will see you next week. Cheers.